Hey Jackwagon, if you're the one that signed this carburetor off as being in compliance with airworthiness directives and acceptable for an annual inspection, well, you're a liar and a thief. Hey guys, how's it going? This is Bill with another Hangar how-to. This one's I kind of titled The Inspector Was a Liar and a Cheat. Now, kind of wonder why is that the case? We're in the back corner of the shop in my studio. So anyway, you might hear some dogs, chickens, who knows what else going on. Jets, helicopters going on. Anyway, yeah, the inspector on this one was definitely a liar and a cheat. And now you think, hey, what's the deal? Well, aircraft came in for an annual Cessna 172, pretty much cheddar cheese type aircraft. Owner thought he got a pretty good deal. Thought he got a good deal. Thought he got a fair deal. We're working with fair people. Now, one of the things that I noticed when the aircraft taxied in is, if you notice, this air cleaner is brand new and all that. That's the reason, because it is brand new. When the aircraft taxied in, it had an old bracket air filter that was, you could tell just from 20 feet away, it didn't have the reinforcements of the beads on the frame. That is about a 20, 25, maybe 30-year-old airworthiness directive. So right out of the chute, I'm kind of paranoid. Like, what's going on? How come that is right on the front of the aircraft? What's going on? Well, we get into the aircraft. There's just all sorts of issues, corrosion issues, hardware issues. Basically, the inspector, whoever signed this aircraft off, he said that he changed the oil, and he changed the oil filter, opened up the oil filter, and inspected it, which is interesting because this aircraft doesn't have an oil filter. Who knew? So, as far as I know, nothing's been inspected on this aircraft. They pulled it out of a field, gave it basically a crap paint job, and then flipped it to an unsuspecting customer. So, big thing is, somebody got screwed in this deal. Try not to get screwed. Try not to have anybody else get screwed. So I'm just going to go through the carburetor. This is just the carburetor, one of the many things. Carburetor has we found the carburetor, looking at the carburetor was completely misrigged. The idle stop never went down to the set screw. I've got a picture of that. Never went down to the set screw on standard rig. Absolutely ridiculous. The other thing is the safety wire on the arm was done incorrectly. That's another airworthiness directive. So that's airworthiness directive number 2. Now this carburetor, when we took the cowling off, in order to identify the serial number and model number of this carburetor for airworthiness directive purposes, I had to scrub the rust off the data plate. Now, whoever annualed it last year, 20 flight hours ago, never did that. There's no way that thing got that corroded. It took me 5-10 minutes to get the rust off of this thing so that I could get another carburetor. And what are we doing with the carburetor? We're putting a different carburetor on. We're going to get rid of this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this thing up, see what is going on. A couple other telltales. First off, this thing's completely filthy. Never been cleaned. Never was cleaned at the annual last year. There's blue stains all over it. The bowl to top housing seal is completely leaky. The screws don't have the proper lock tabs. They don't have the proper screws or lock tabs on it. It's just a shit job. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's a shit job. Whoever annualed this thing should be shot. So let's take this thing apart and see what's inside. Now there's a couple of airworthiness directives on this carburetor. One is that it should have a metal float. That was a very old one. It should have a metal float. The metal float, they were having problems with the original brass floats sinking. They were corroding and whatnot, never been checked, inspected and whatnot. So there was an airworthiness directive to put a metal float in, and then they came out and said, oh yeah, the metal float, take that out. Put the black float in. They put the black float in. Then they had an airworthiness directive on the black float. So then that came out. Then they put a metal float back in. And now Marvel Schebler MSA Carbs has a blue float, blue plastic float. So I'm not going to say anything about that, but that is the current latest float. Now, if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a big fan of plastic or anything plastic, only because if plastic is so good, then how come our dashboards keep cracking? You know what I mean? And no, I don't fly Cirrus aircraft. Okay. I'm just kind of taking all the safety wear off this thing. Again, there shouldn't be any safety wear on this thing. I'm getting filthy. This thing shouldn't be this filthy. Taking this thing apart, this thing should have having only 20 flight hours on it. And mind you, this aircraft was quote unquote annual. Nobody ever really looked at it. And then whoever sold this plane, the aircraft was ferried from the Northeast United States to Texas. Whoever they put in the pilot seat of that thing, they were basically putting a gun to their head. I have a real problem. I have a real ethical problem with that. So let's take this thing apart and see what's going on. Okay, this screw isn't even tight. I just cut the safety wire off. One screw, not tight. Boom, we'll take it out. Second screw. Kind of snug. This is over by the mixture control. Boom, boom, boom. Get that out. It's hot as heck here in Texas. If you're watching this, I am probably up in Oshkosh right now at the air show. So if you guys are out kicking around and you see me, say hi. I have no problem with that. If you have a cold beer in your hand, there's no reason why you can't share. Just saying. Okay, got 3 out, and all these screws are quasi loose. There's really no real torque on them. So obviously the gasket is squeezed through the ears, and it's just falling apart. So let's get this thing out of here. A couple of things too on this carburetor. In fact, hang on. Okay, on this carburetor, it's got a kind of a taper shaft arrangement for the throttle shaft. That was an airworthiness directive to make sure that the screw is tight and all that, because they're having issues with that. So what we've done is we've actually gotten, we're sending this in for core. We don't want to see this carburetor again. We're putting a new to this aircraft carburetor, overhauled carburetor from Marvel Chevrolet. It has the late style throttle shaft on it, so that takes care of that airworthiness directive. So that goes away. We'll get this out of here. Okay, let's see. Get this loosened up. And we're going to take this. Still got some shitty gas in it. And I'm looking at the gas. It's evaporating here, and there's water in it. So, great. Come on, baby. Inside of the carburetor actually doesn't look too bad. This is a black composite float. That's an airworthiness directive. I'll link it below. That is an airworthiness directive right there. So that is some real shit. And in addition, there's another. So that's number 2 airworthiness directive was not complied with that inspection. Number 3 airworthiness directive is the one-piece venturi. Now I'm pulling out the center section of this venturi because we're going to put it back. This is what they call a 2-piece venturi. It has an inner venturi, and then the outer venturi is still in the carburetor. This is what they call a 2-piece. Now this is all cast in one piece. This is a 3rd airworthiness directive, major airworthiness directive, airworthiness directive, airworthiness directive. 3 airworthiness directives. And you can see I've got water beading up here. I got water in the carburetor. This shit just wears my ass out. Somebody got a good, cheap annual inspection, and as far as I'm concerned, they put about 5 rounds in the chamber and pulled the trigger back. There wasn't much good news. Just really, really shit work. How do you keep from doing that? Get a pre-buy. Get a good pre-buy, and a cheap annual will kill you. I'll tell you that right now. A cheap annual will kill you. An expensive annual may also kill you. Choose your mechanic wisely. Make sure they're doing the work. Now, I started this thing off with the fact that the inspector on this, the IA, was a liar and a cheat. Yes, he was a liar. He lied that he complied with 3 major airworthiness directives. Okay? What else did you say? You said he was a cheat. Yeah, he is a cheat. He charged for an annual inspection. He didn't do an annual inspection. As far as I'm concerned, that's theft. I have some real moral issues with the folks that worked on this thing, or they didn't work on this thing. So that's the one for this episode. Just a real quick one. I don't know how to say it, but just don't get screwed. Be diligent. We've got a I've got a deal on doing pre-buys, so I got another video on that. But most importantly, if you're going to buy an aircraft, make sure it gets worked on properly. Don't buy a good deal. Sometimes a good deal is too good to be true because it's too good to be true. So I want all you guys to be safe. I want all you guys to fly. I'm hoping to see a lot of you guys up at Oshkosh, guys and girls, girls and guys. So that's the story this time. Hangar Rat's out. We're going to pack up this bowl of junk and put some good stuff in. Make sure our owner stays safe and happy, and his family does too. So that's it. Like, share, subscribe. As I said, hit the comment, and you know what? Put a comment down there below. But I don't know what I can say. This shit just wears my ass out. I've said it over and over again. So stay cool. We'll see you up in Oshkosh if we see you. Otherwise, caveat emptor, beware. Find a good mechanic and stick with them.